I click the links to join the channel here, become a member over at Subscribe Star. Thanks to the recent members. You guys are the real heroes. So it kind of feels like Star Wars' last hope was Mandalorian, because I know, as I say this, you think, oh, it's just a culture war. You're just on the right, and Star Wars and Disney's on the left, and it's just culture war. That's why you're saying everything from Disney, Star Wars sucks. There's so much coming from Disney Star Wars that when you look up and you go one of those sailing the high sea sites, like Solar 123, and you punch in Star Wars and you see all the offerings. It's like punching in Batman. You realize, like, oh, the animation stuff comes up and it's just endless. But you punch in Star Wars, all these shows that come up, live action, not just the animation. And there's all these shows you go, oh, I have never heard of half of these shows. The Mandalorian, yeah, I heard of that. That was like, Mandalorian, I think, was the last good working point for computer configuration. That was the last working point for Star Wars, when they had a hope of getting people back on board to make up for the Disney trilogy, which was disappointing, and then Solo, which was the first Star Wars movie to lose money. And so you had the Mando, and you got people on board. Like, the Mando wasn't great, but it was enough to start getting people back in the door. And then you fire Gina Carano. It's like, oh, just fuck you guys. Just what the? You can't just keep cool. You can't just let the thing run out. Like, it's only going to go for a few seasons anyway. It's like, you couldn't just leave her alone and leave. Nobody knew. I didn't know who Gina Carano was. I didn't give a shit about Gina Carano. I knew her from Deadpool as a chick with the fantastic rack in Deadpool. That was all I knew her from. I don't care about her and the culture war. It's like, just leave it alone. She didn't want to use pronouns on Twitter. Okay, fine. Just drop it. Leave it alone. Move along. There's like 10,000 angry weirdos on Twitter, but you're willing to placate them and lose the entire company as a whole. Disney's not losing the entire company. Like, there's always going to be points. I'm turning down the kinks. I'm an ape man. There's always going to be points on the timeline where you can point to, like, the last clear chance, the last clear time to, here, you could have turned back here, and you wouldn't have got lost in the jungle forever. It's like, this is your last chance, the fork in the road to turn back. I look at the man, I think, yeah, I think that might have been it. That might have been it. They're experts in Star Wars, can tell you that, but like, you couldn't have just left her alone. Like, oh, she didn't want to use pronouns. She used beep beep, whatever. All right, you're fired. Oh, she's calling for peace. She's saying you shouldn't treat people on the right as aliens who deserve violence. Punch a Nazi, and everyone who disagrees with us is a Nazi, and then we're gonna delete you from this mortal coil. Oh, it kind of feels like you're not. I didn't wish violence on you. I wish violence on B, but then I said you're A, and A is equivalent to B. Aren't I so clever? Yeah. I mean, hey, yeah. But I mean, you're trying to sell a product here. Like, culture war, on push that aside for now. It's like, you're trying to sell a product. Disney's in a company to sell Star Wars shows. Disney Plus, the streaming service. How does that help you? How does it help you sell hamburgers? How many fingers, Winston? Hamburgers? Fuck your hamburgers. We were never selling hamburgers. When you realize, Neo, that there is no spoon. I'm telling you, Neo, you won't even need to. Never mind. So Andor, Star Wars, Mandalorian. It's like, Gina Carano was she the tipping point? Yeah, she might have been. Interesting little points on the timeline, little names, little rappers whose names I probably can't say on YouTube. 2024 though. Anyway, so Andor, Star Wars, and people joke about electing Kanye 2024. I look at the situation, I go, no, we're not joking. Wait, what are you talking about? Some Hollywood idiot, some rapper or something? What the hell does he know about politics? At this point, I don't give a rat's ass. Wait, are you serious? Yeah. Could he? Let me ask you this. I've never heard a Kanye West rap song. I guess I'm gonna have to fix that. Rap for me kind of ended with Kool Moe Dee, Too Short, NWA, Ice-T back in the '80s. That was kind of the peak of rap for me. But they go, yeah. Look. So Trump, Hillary, Biden, Kamala, whoever. I don't know who's running for office. He says, yeah. Now look at Kanye. A little bit crazy, yeah, for sure. Could he do any worse than anyone else? Don't just answer that. Like, look at who. Look at the totality. Oh, but DeSantis, sorry. And look at Kanye. You go, maybe it's time to shake some stuff up a little bit. Like, are you insane? No, but I think the world is insane, and sometimes you have to be a little more insane than the world to try to wake things up a little bit. Anyway, good luck getting. You're not going to get your 17 cents off this video because it's not going to get monetized because you said his name too many times. Whatever. Anyway, so Disney Star Wars and/or Star Wars, why everything sucks now and is going to get worse. Some people say that Andor is the best of Star Wars recent offerings. I was going to say those people are stupid and they should be abused. Maybe even worse. You don't have to accept Star Wars or Andor as good. It just means that you've been just fed such garbage for so long that, yes, in comparison, it's like saying Mando was good. Yes, when everything else is garbage and you get a step up from garbage, it's like, oh, you're right, it's not as bad. That doesn't make it good. You have to look at when you're examining Star Wars, you obviously have to start in 1977 with the original trilogy. It's like, but that was lightning in a bottle. Yes, and they should try to come as close to that as possible. And the same thing with Rings of Power and Lord of the Rings, the books and the movies, 20 years ago. It's like those movies set the standard. The books set the standards for the movies, but I thought the movies were pretty solid. You should try to get as close to that as possible. Oh, no, we're going to do something entirely different. Why would you do that? J.R.R. Tolkien, or even George Lucas in his own way, were both masters of storytelling. Lucas told a simple story very well. Tolkien told a simple story, but slightly more complicated story very well. You should really focus on mastering that before you try to subvert expectations, because they were expecting something good and you gave them something crap. Congratulations, J.J. Abrams or Riri Johnson or all these other idiots. Like, yeah, you're just giving people garbage. You're not the master storytellers that you seem to think you are. Become a master first, and then maybe you can do something a little plot twist. But like, oh no, we're not even close to master storytellers. No, you're not at all. Anyway. So you don't have to accept crap just because like it's slightly better than everything else. It's still a lotta. It's like, oh, this is a really good lotta. Okay, great. Okay, when you beep the horn, the lights dim, and it's got a top speed of 65 miles an hour. That's the real, well, yes, but that's good for lottas. You don't have to accept poison from Disney. This isn't Star Wars. Nothing from Disney is Star Wars. Nothing from Disney is good. Your default position should be Disney sucks. The question is to find out why. Anyway, so a lot of other people also seem to think Andor sucks, sort of, because, I mean, people, they're not watching it because it's kind of been prejudged, like Solo was prejudged. Which is fine. Because I mean, it's because the Disney trilogy was a disappointment to people that Solo was prejudged, and also the people were coming out talking about robosexual, and Lando Calrissian now is into dudes and robots, so he's like getting DP'd by a robot while he does a dude or something. Like, that's not the Lando I remember, and that's not Star Wars I remember, and like robos, none of that makes sense. And it's like, was that in the movie? No. There was like one little joke about that, and it was obviously just a throwaway line. But the social media blue-haired Tumblr weirdos who were working for Disney were pushing that nonstop before the movie came out. Like, you guys you lost this company like $300 million because of your social media posts. You helped burn $300 million. Oh, yeah, but I'm a blue-haired Tumblr weirdo, and it's other people's money. I don't care. Yeah, that's kind of what it boils down to. Like, Disney will burn itself to ashes, and it's like it's still always kind of thought of as it's like other people's money. So follow my logic here. If everything from Star Wars sucks, and it's not just Star Wars really, but Disney in general, and even Hollywood, when you start to think about it, why would you bother watching something from Disney? As I was taking notes on this last night, I was on Odyssey, and I had a 1989 Ghostbuster Part 2 was playing on in the background. I watched the first one, Part 1 and Part 2. Fantastic movies, right? It's a shame they never got that through. But it's like, that's a 33-year-old movie that's better than anything in the mainstream now. Doesn't it feel like Hollywood peaked in the 1980s? And doesn't it feel weird that you're going back 30 years, you're like, whoa, this stuff is like way... What was the first one? 86 and then 89? Ghostbusters 1 and 2. Both excellent movies in slightly different ways, but really top-notch comedy and horror comedies. Like, there was a little bit of scary in there. Top-notch films. And you look at modern, it's like, that was 33 years ago. Shouldn't they have learned from that? Like, yeah, it's kind of a longer, drawn-out debate on cultural Marxism. and political correctness and like a lot of that kind of in that vein of topic where you go, yeah, you just can't make movies like that anymore. Oh, really? Yeah, yeah. Go through and watch it with a piece of paper and start taking out the lines and the scenes that are politically incorrect. And I mean, and you start looking at it, you're like, oh, so like you just can't make movies nowadays. No, you can't make movies that are going to have any connection to people where people remember lines from 30 years later. No, you're not going to make a modern movie now where people are going to remember lines. No, absolutely not. The movies now are just plastic fucked all throwaway. It's just peak Weimar America. It's just garbage. It's just absolute poison. You don't have to accept Hollywood. At some point, it can reach a tipping point where it's not worth watching. Let me refresh you on Andor. The theme is vaguely that the United Kingdom and colonialism is bad, but only colonialism when I guess Europeans do it. Like, African tribes were invading each other left and right. They didn't write it down because they didn't have a history of writing anything down, but the history is there from outsiders who were writing the history down. Yeah, they did the exact same thing. They did it on a smaller scale. They did it with bows and spears type of stuff. It was on a smaller scale, but they very much did it. You can go read the history of Shaka Zulu and the various other African tribes. It's fascinating. It's like, yes, they did all the exact same things, the same brutality. No, 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 no. They lived in peace and harmony because I read Roots, and Roots told me they lived in peace and harmony. Yeah, like I said yesterday, I mean, read the history of Roots. That was a lie. It was a plagiarized book. The guy lost in. No, 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 no. I read the history of Africa by some, like, I don't know, Pan-African futurist socialist communist guy who lives in America and visited Africa twice. Okay, well, I mean, why don't you read the history of the people who were writing history at the time? It's like, yeah, yeah, they did the same thing. No, 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 no. Only European colonialism is bad. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, a child can look at that and it's like, we don't want the real history because the real history is kind of a messy thing. It's like, oh, it turns out that everyone acted like humans in the past, but that's not the narrative nowadays. But like the further you go on false facts, when somebody just with a puff of wind blows away that false facts, it collapses this entire structure. You're like, oh, we spent a lot of time and effort building on sand when we should have found some bedrock. So that's the general theme is kind of vaguely F Whitey type of thing. It's not class versus class or even army versus army. It seems to be English stereotypical characters are bad, and the head bad girl is a platinum blonde who wears all white, and she is straight out of Aryan Central Casting. I expect her to do a Roman salute. It's just as nonsense as it sounds. I'm like, oh, you sound like a crazy person. Am I a crazy person? Does this sound crazy? Is this just confirmation bias, tinfoil hat on my head, paranoid delusions? Yeah, maybe. Hey, maybe. But both things can be true at once. Or you can just go sail the solar 123 seas, if you know what I'm saying, to go check it out for yourself, or have somebody give you a Disney password. Or go on Odyssey. They probably post Odyssey, Bit Chute, and that kind of stuff. I mean, the stuff's online is what I'm trying to say. You can find out for yourself whether I'm crazy or whether this stuff is actually crazy now. But now you got to kind of starting to awaken to the idea that something is going on. Doesn't it seem weird that they're willing to make movies that people don't want? I mean, that just puts it bluntly. That's what it boils down to. They're selling a product, but they're not giving people what they want. They're willing to lose money to push cultural Marxism. Doesn't that seem weird? And, it's weirder that the media isn't even talking about it as its own phenomenon. Shouldn't the story be of them pushing cultural Marxism? Shouldn't that be the newsworthy story? No, because it's not politically correct to discuss it. No, Virginia, the corrupt media is not going to report on corrupt Hollywood. Oh, well, the Patriots are in charge, and we present this evidence to the media and the FBI, and the corrupt media and the corrupt FBI will report on the corrupt media and the corrupt FBI. So what's the color of the sky in your world, friendo? What are you saying a corrupt? Yeah, I mean, that's kind of a different video, but you know what I'm saying. Anyway, hey, thanks to the recent channel members on YouTube and Subscribestar. And get on Odyssey, Bit Chute, Gab, Telegram. Telegram is a really good way to keep in touch. I got on Locals and Substack too. And I'll see you guys all next episode.